Hello and welcome to this What Do You Want to Watch Spoilercast for The Last of Us Season 2, Episode 4. I'm your host, Ash Lee. Join me today, Dylan Black.
Yeah, happy to be here talking about how many shots in this episode are from the game.
Yes, a fun game every single week. I feel like it's a lot.
This episode in particular, I feel like hit a lot of game moments.
Hit a lot of, well, I think a lot of recreations of places. So let's just dive straight into it. Please be aware we'll be freely discussing anything and everything about plot themes in any of the episode and of The Last of Us video game. So if you haven't played them and haven't watched the episode, this is not the podcast for you, because we will be speculating, theorizing, and talking about events that will probably happen in the future of the video game, and thus the future of the TV show. With that said, let's jump into discussing Episode 4, Season 2, Day 1, directed by Kate Herron, written by Craig Mazin. Dylan, we're now in Seattle. What do you think of the episode?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's mostly just Dina and Ellie now, other than our flash away to Isaac, a little like back past and present Isaac, which was good. Yeah, I mean, it just sort of helps. It's an episode about tightening their relationship, figuratively and literally. And yeah, it also had some really tense moments. We get to see, I think from seeing the sneaking around stuff was very tense. And then when she get to the subway scene, which had the red flares and everything, just like in the game, in that particular scene, or that level in the game, how that plays out with the Horde coming in, and they change how Ellie reveals her immunity to Dina, but I think it makes perfect sense given they changed the they don't have air fungus, whatever it's officially called.
Yeah.
In the TV show as per season 1, where they already made that change, so they had to change how it's revealed, because obviously it plays out differently in the game where Ellie doesn't have a mask. So yeah, all of that. But yeah, I mean, overall a very beautiful episode. Both at night and dark. Yeah, Seattle looks really, really good. We get the guitar scene, which obviously I'm sure a lot of people were like, that has to happen. If you fuck that up, that's it. Yeah, and then Isaac burning and killing a dude. Great, love that.
Yeah, I mean, again, like a good building episode, and obviously kind of setting up what we're going to be dealing with for the rest of the season, of like them dealing with the events happening and what they're going to do in Seattle. I think, set production, like 10 out of 10. Like, some of these sets are freaking incredible. Just little touches and that kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, they picked and chose like really special moments to include. And then, yeah, we do get a bit more Isaac, which is a plus for this TV adaptation, that you can kind of
cut away.
See, you can cut to a character who's not interacting with the person you're controlling. You can cut away to people who aren't your protagonist in a TV show. So, yeah, let's dive into discussing the recap of the episode. Reading this recap from TV Line, written by Kimberly Roots, who is not a game player. All right, so we start with a flashback to the Seattle quarantine zone, circa 2018. In the back of a federal transport, a soldier tells a gross and violent story for laughs. He talks about some voters disseminating information. He thought they were Western Liberation Front, but instead there was some religious group. Another soldier asked why they referred to the citizens as voters, and a serious-looking man named Sarge in the corner clarifies that the term is a derogatory one that mocks how federal took away people's rights to vote. His tone implies he disapproves of the other soldiers joking, and the laughter abruptly stops after he speaks. The vehicle approaches a blockade. There are a lot of people outside on the street. Sarge says he's going to go talk to the people and instruct the other soldiers to not to lock and load. Then he orders the soldier who asked about the voters term to come with him and learn something. A woman named Alanna comes up to Sarge and asks if his name is Isaac. It is. Once they've established that, Isaac throws a lit grenade into the back of the transport, which is still full of Federal soldiers, and locks the door. He goes off. He shoots the driver when he tries to escape. Then Isaac and Alanna Henriques, I guess. Shake hands. Welcome to the fight, she says. Isaac turns to the young soldier, who now is the only other soldier from his group. Now you make a choice, the older man demands. Really interesting opening to the episode and introduction to Isaac, Okay. A colouring of the character that we definitely didn't get for the video game, but also like kind of fits perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the scene helps show, he's obviously taking a turn here early against. Look, I mean, the easiest way he's joining the Seraphites in the earlier example. Like the Fedra is the larger militia group. The wolves are the people fighting against them and these other groups and stuff. So he steps down because he thinks he's making the right choice at the time, and he's part of the larger group. So then, of course, it's interesting when we flash ahead in a little bit, and the tables are turned, and they have that line about no Seraphites joining the wolves ever, whereas he was someone who switched sides at one point. So, yeah, sort of just helps put a little bit of perspective, or the lack of his perspective, I guess, within his character.
Well, I mean, it continues the ongoing theme of people always believing they're in the right of their own story. And maybe their future actions don't quite hold up to backing that up. Yeah, I thought it was really good. Kind of fucked up. He threw all those grenades straight in there, killed Josh Peck. But yeah, really interesting. Obviously, we get that one guy that we'll catch up with later in the episode as well. I don't know. Is that woman like someone who's in the games from your memory?
Doesn't ring a bell from my memory, to be honest. But
yeah. All right. So that was 11 years in the past. 11 years later, in the present, Dina and Ellie are poking around the remains of a drugstore. They're in separate rooms, so Ellie isn't there when Dina finds something, we can't see what it is, and yells that she's going to pee, and they'll meet outside. Seattle Day 1, an on-screen title informs us. Not too subtle.
I mean, I wasn't sure if we'd get it this episode, so I was ready to come onto this podcast being like, again, let me just... Every episode I'm mentioning Dina's pregnancy, but... Yeah.
Do you know what my immediate reaction to seeing that was? Got on my phone. Do pregnancy tests have expiry dates? Yes, they only usually last about 3 years. Interestingly, apparently what happens is you're more likely to get a false negative.
Oh, okay.
So you're more likely to get it come up negative when you actually are pregnant if it's expired.
So she's really pregnant then.
she's like, Karen, yeah,
200%.
It overcame
the
expiredness. Ellie notices something off. Something is off about her friend when Dina comes out and climbs up to Shimmer. But Dina shrugs it off. They meander through Capitol Hill, music about how they thought Seattle had been bombed, but this part is still intact. They make remarks about all these rainbows all over the place, when they must have all been optimists.
Good throwback to the game.
Yeah. Even like... and all the people will say it's what they've made the game woke,
I'm wondering if all the people who complain about like the casting and the changes and stuff, now it'll be, the woke agenda, she's gay in this and the gay pride stuff, this wasn't in the game. And like what?
Yeah, it was.
Definitely was.
They arrive at the area we saw in the flashback, which is now covered with long rotten corpses. The girls see the Fedra bodies inside the transport and guess that the two groups were fighting each other. Then Dina uses her binoculars to look around and finds WLF painted on a satellite dish on top of a tall building. Ellie, unsurprisingly, is ready to charge in, make plans later, but Dina convinces her to wait until dark and approach on foot. While they're killing time, they hole up in a music shop. It's as ravaged as the rest of the city is, but in a pretty way. Lots of plants growing in and a giant sunny hole where windows used to be. Ellie ventures upstairs and finds a guitar that, by virtue of being sealed up in a case, is in very good condition. She tunes it and starts playing Aha's Take On Me, though she pauses when she sees Dina at the top of the stairs. Go on, Dina whispers, so she does. Ellie's performance is quiet and sweet and quite good. Dina, beaming, sits cross-legged on the floor in front of her, eyes full of tears. When Ellie finishes, Dina wipes her face and compliments her friend, who credits all those lessons from Droll. Dina cries, he taught you well. Ellie agrees with that. Beautiful recreation of the scene. You know, I'm sure it'll hit different for people who will sing it for the first time, but yeah, very sweet and like very.
It was very
tender
good, and
like,
I took it as her singing. Right, it seemed like it was actually her singing.
Yeah, I believe Bella can sing and can play guitar.
Okay,
although I don't know they showcased her playing guitar very much or very well.
I think there's a lot of above the shoulder. More amateurish anyway, I guess. So she'd have to downplay if she was better.
Yeah, maybe. But I think this scene really works because of the work Isabela Merced does on the reverse of the looks and reactions she's giving. You know, just the swelling up of the eyes and and you feel like that's the moment. You know, that's the moment she knew.
That's the moment she knew.
Yeah. Although I will say, we see Ellie leave the guitar out at the end. Ellie, put it back.
Camera hangs on.
This is the only good guitar you found in this entire shop. It was sealed away in a case. You just got to leave it out? Come on.
Camera hang on it like the start screen of the game.
Yeah, I guess that was the point. Yeah. So I hope she put it back. That's my only thing. Yeah.
Hey, they said I'm based there now. Well, maybe. They'll be coming back there every episode now.
Shimmer, so. A good old Shimmer in that grass, you know, doing some work. She deserves it.
There's definitely one thing they've changed to better in the game. You just leave the horse outside all the time.
Here's an intrusive question that crossed my mind recently. Do you reckon they'll kill Shimmer?
What happens in the game? I can't remember.
Yeah, pretty sure.
How? Do you remember how?
I can't remember exactly.
Look, if the horse dies in the game, which I can't remember happening, it definitely is going to happen in this.
I know people are kind of weird about animals dying in things, you know. So
yeah, I know, but this show's about being dark. You know what I mean? Like,
I guess. Yeah.
This isn't the time to.
Of all the people we're going to save, it's going to be the horse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
People are already angry about Joel. Like, let's just just let it go.
Speaking of, you know how last week I said, you know, ratings went down? Interestingly, the only numbers you've got is like the people who watched it live. And after episode 1, there was like a really large dip to episode 2 for some reason. But then it was an uptick for episode 3.
People were busy that weekend or something? I don't know.
Maybe. Oh, it was WrestleMania weekends, remember? So,
wow, there you go. See?
You know, so maybe, you know, they'd hit the numbers.
Could be.
But yeah, interesting. Now for something completely different and totally disturbing. In an industrial kitchen somewhere in Seattle, Isaac lights a stove's burner and talks to someone out of frame about how, in the pre-cordyceps times, he loved cooking and used to dream about owning a fancy saucepan. And I was right, just how I planned. The strange benefits of the apocalypse, he says, heating a pan that we quickly realize is going to be used in interrogation. A naked, badly beaten, and bald man is chained to a wall in the kitchen. He appears to be a member of the Seraphites, the religious group we saw walking in the woods in the previous episode. As the man prays, Isaac mocks him, calling him and his fellow believers scars. Isaac wants to know where they will be attacking next. The man won't spell, so Isaac has the man hold out his hand, and Isaac places the hot pan directly on it. The man screams so loudly and awfully that a guard outside blanches. Other man tells him to chill because Isaac knows what he's doing. As the prisoner cradles his mangled hand, he repeatedly chants, "She watches over me, she fills my soul," to himself. Isaac asks if she also told the man to kill children. They argue about who broke the truce between the two factions, but the man will not give Isaac what he wants. He taunts Isaac that despite having better resources, the wolves are going to lose. Every day, one of your wolves comes to see the truth and takes her into their heart, and none of us ever leave to become a wolf. This angers Isaac greatly, and he reaches a pan once more, but the man doesn't flinch and merely holds out his other hand before being asked. Instead, Isaac shoots and kills him. Good guy, got what he deserves, says the soldier whom we hadn't seen before. We realize it's the younger guy from the flashback, the one Isaac saved from his colleague's fate. The intervening years seem to have changed him. Fucking animal, he sneers. Very intense scene. Very cool. Yeah, and also Jeffrey Wright, you know.
Yeah. I thought Gordon was nicer than that, but This is what each commissioner ends up like after a few years.
Pretty mean.
Yeah, they have to deal with some stuff out there on the streets of Gotham. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we obviously get a lot of information there, like saying that there was some sort of truce between the two sides, and it's been broken by somebody. Obviously, them addressing them killing the Seraphites, killing children as well as the wolves. So neither side is super good, I guess, is the implication, and what we know. But yeah, I think getting to see Isaac get his hands dirty and kind of like. I don't know that I've seen an interrogation with a saucepan before.
No, I don't think I have.
No, so I love him saying, it's copper. It's kind of bad for use in interrogations. Cast iron is really what you want for a situation like that because it retains the heat. So, so if you're looking for good crockery, use some good saucepans and need them to interrogate people with. Copper ain't the shit. But yeah, we also see like the dude he's been with has like been completely, fucked up and kind of desensitized to all the violence, I guess. He's inflicted on people from now on. So, also, he also mentions Isaac mentions to the Seraphite that there are people who don't believe that the prophet was just a woman, and the Seraphite refers to them as heretics.
Heretics, yeah.
So maybe there is a divide between,
I guess, yeah.
a split between the Seraphites, and maybe the group from last week were people who were leaving, trying to get away from the war. Although that doesn't really make sense. Well, I guess I'm trying to think the angles, like the people that we saw last week might have been leaving Seattle. Is a possibility.
Possibly.
It's just the way it was shot made it look like they were.
No, they were definitely
going to Seattle.
Definitely were going to Seattle because the body was. Well, at least it seems like they said. Yeah, I don't know.
It's hard to say, but it would make more sense if they were trying to leave Seattle. If there's a war going on in Seattle, but doesn't matter because they're all dead.
Now, the interesting thing, and it's not really something to dive in, but I will be interested. So, a big plot point, a big discussion point. Well, I say big, a niche discussion point in certain aspects when the game came out was that Druckmann did all these interviews and basically talked about and implied that the Seraphites versus the Wolves is like Israel versus Palestine. And it was based upon that. Now, that was years ago, obviously. And now the story now making its way to TV in 2025, I'm intrigued to see if the same discussion points come up.
I know. I guess it depends on which side you think is which side.
Well, yeah, that's a landmine of a topic. Yeah, Druckmann is on record saying that it would like the basis for these groups and the violence itself of The Last of Us is inspired by the Israeli-Palestine conflict. So, yeah, it's just I'll be because there was definitely
and there's a lot of hate towards Neil Druckmann for saying that, and obviously being Israeli
because
as well.
There was definitely a lot of opinion pieces for each side, but there's definitely some that speak negatively of him for he was born in Israel, so he's spoken mostly about violence against Israelis and how that makes him feel. So yeah, I'll be interested to see if any of those articles and thought pieces come out of the show, or if the show's just it hasn't been as nuanced in its violence to potentially bring up those same points again. But we shall see.
I don't know. Obviously, Craig is so heavily
involved now,
creatively involved, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's something that don't shy away from as well. I don't know if there'd be direct ties, but good. There are so many other examples of violence committed against the people for seemingly no reason other than land and position, that you could just tie it to anything, any war, really. All right. Night falls. Ellie and Dina make their way into the wolf building and quickly realize they've stumbled upon the scene of a massacre. There are a bunch of dead bodies, a few hanging from the ceiling, disemboweled with their hands bound. Dina immediately pukes. If you don't know what's coming later about 2 females vomiting sessions in 2 episodes, I wonder. Have you ever watched a TV show before, bro? Back to the matter at hand. Field her love, and the fish symbol is scrawled on the wall, leading the girls to realize that the group they saw in the woods are responsible for killings. What the fuck's wrong with Seattle, Dina asks. All the carnage is incredibly fresh, as we learn when wolf soldiers run in and Ellie and Dina quickly hide. The soldiers are looking to kill any Seraphites they find, despite Isaac's orders to keep them alive for questioning. And it's not long before one discovers Ellie. She jumps on him and chokes him, ultimately killing him as Dina shoots the second soldier who runs in to aid him. Dina and Ellie escape into the pouring rain outside, winding up in the old transit tunnel. The wolves know where they are and toss lit flares in the tunnel, which roll up all the infected that are creeping around down there. Incredible recreation of the scenes, like pretty fucked up, and like so I watched the behind the scenes and they actually had real people hung up, like stunt people hung up with like fake
I feel like this is the time you could have got away with dummies or something, but that's fine.
I don't know. I guess they wanted that level of realism.
Yeah, just kill somebody.
Yeah, I'm sure they like hung them up in a way that it wasn't painful or discomforting, but yeah, continuity, man, that would have been real difficult. You got to try and keep the same expression.
Yeah, what happens if you sneeze up there? You know what I mean?
Blow the take, yeah. But yeah, like obviously really intense, and you know, the thing I appreciated is the dialogue between the soldiers is just like the dialogue you hear in the game. You know, talking to each other and you know, fan out and all that kind of stuff. And then you see all the.
I need Ellie to kill someone and then just hear Dave. Have anyone seen Dave? Oh my god, Dave's fucking dead! That bitch! Just like that's what I need to hear. I need some.
That's what you need. But yeah, these two, you know, it's good to see that you know, Ellie's jiu-jitsu moves, that, you know, and training panned out. You know, she was taken out. The last time we saw her try to fight somebody, it was not very impressive. So, yeah.
Did you say? I think not this in particular, just random thought. Do you feel like Ellie in this episode is more like the Ellie that everyone's been wanting? Like she feels more like the game Ellie in this episode.
I think so, and maybe that's because it's more actiony and, you know, like.
Well, I was thinking, is it the, instead of like jumping straight to she's more adult from the get go, like she sort of is in the game. It seems like they were like, no, let's just make that more of a transition post Joel's death. Like it forces her to
grow up fast. Maybe it could just be, I think it might just be a costume.
The hair, she has the proper like last.
Yes, she has the hair like out, and, like, you know.
And no, she just seemed more. I don't know. Like I was getting. Again, I've had complaints previous weeks, but like I just keep having to see the complaints every week, and I'm like, I feel like this week is more what people want, but I don't know.
Tough to say.
Yeah,
we'll find out.
Yeah, we will.
The clickers chase Ellie and Dina until the pair drop into a subway car full of skeletons. The writer says, who have experienced a top 10 fear of mine enduring my last moments of public transportation anywhere. And the infected follow them. The undead rock the car and break the windows. And it's looking really bad until the women open an emergency exit in the roof. Apparently dead men can't jump because once Ellie boosts Dina up, then Dina pulls Ellie out. They're able to get away, barely. Though the infected thought the infected danger was done, nope. When Ellie and Dina get stuck in some turnstiles, that won't move. A clicker is all up in Dina's business and getting ever closer. So Ellie shoves her arm between the creature and her friend, and shoots the infectors as it's biting her. She saves Dina's life, but Dina is incredibly freaked out as she looks at the bloody gash on Ellie's arm. A clever way to get her bit, although, you know, it seems like she just gets bit all the time, to be honest, you know. But, you know,
I like
a really nice moment. Yeah.
It sort of gives her something that obviously she's most upset about, which is, as we'll get to it later until we get the Joel and Ellie flashback scene, that took away her ability to make the choice and save people on her own choice and stuff. But here we actually get to, I mean, she technically uses her immunity.
She chooses to save somebody with her.
Yeah, she actually gets to use it to save someone, which she doesn't get to do in the games, really. So, yeah, I actually like the change. I think it's better than the game here. This is one of those times where I think this works better.
Yeah. Well, it helps in like the order of the how things have been moved around, I guess, with their relationship and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, really intense. Also, fucking turnstiles, like brutal. Like, although we're gonna get stuck, like, and then all the undead come in and like are pushing both ways, so there's no way they can get through. You know, that gate. They get through a lot of gates, you know, through group force, you know, or fences. You know?
The problem with this one is you need some of them to not be pushing on one side to push for the other side. And currently
they only be pushing the same way.
Currently, they're cucking themselves, you know? Like,
yeah, they're screwing themselves over. You know, or they might end up just squishing each other, you know, which would be pretty.
I thought that chase through the subway car was really good though, especially like the part where they're going for the
super tense.
Whatever that part in the middle between the carriages is called, where
like the plastic.
Yeah,
you can see like them pushing through it.
Stuff that was cool.
Yes, yeah, not an experience I would do.
And I really liked again the red flares and stuff because that's such like a memorable part from the game. Like the red shot and stuff, even from the original trailer for the game when they have a few shots of Ellie in there amongst like the red flares and stuff, always memorable. So.
Which very pretty as well. Yeah. They get back to a concert hall where they're holding up, and Ellie turns around from barring the door to find Dina crying and holding a gun on her. I would die for you. I would, Ellie says, but that is not what just happened. It's time to tell Dina the truth. I'm immune. I can't get infected, Ellie says. And when Dina is not convinced, Ellie gets her to agree to hold a gun on her all night long, promising that I'm going to wake up just as I am right now. Really good recapturing of like I guess it's a concert hall. It's not. It was I guess it was in the game.
It was a concert hall. It was a theater hall, whatever you want to call it.
I always think of it.
I always called it just the theater. I remember.
I mean, they call it the theater, so
yeah. So
yeah. But yeah, I mean that looked very similar to the game.
Yeah, very, very, very similar to the game.
So I don't know if it was an actual location in Seattle. They've just
yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure a lot of the locations would have been based on
stuff. Yeah.
Stuff. Yeah.
All right. Later, when Ellie is awake and definitely not a mushroom, she shows Dina the bite, which looks incredibly average, and the moment of vulnerability seems to seal something for Dina. I'm pregnant, she says, crying. What? Ellie replies, shocked. The Dina drops the lamp she's holding and kisses her. Ellie eagerly reciprocates. They start taking each other's clothes off, and Ellie slips her hands into Dina's pants. Then we cut to the next morning, where they snuggle on the floor. Ellie is a big spoon. In the morning light, Dina looks at Ellie's old bite. Ellie clarifies that now it's mostly a burn. They're cute, tentative, and cuddly. Dina realizes she doesn't even know if Ellie wants a kid. I want it with you, Ellie says quietly. Dina says that the bath included into the fact that something was up. She also took 4 pregnancy tests after they visited a pharmacy. We're going to have a baby, and I guess we, and also I guess Jesse, she says. Holy shit, I'm going to be a dad, Ellie says. So silly. Of course, the cutest ends when the WLF radio that Dina stole crackles with some voices. They're fighting, and they hear Nora's name. And reason that she'll know where Abby is. Up on the roof, they see bombs going off in the city, and that's where they're going to have to go. But Ellie suddenly realizes that everything's at stake and tells Dina she doesn't have to rush into danger with her. But the mum-to-be thinks for a moment and then holds out her hand. Ellie takes it together, Dina says. End of episode. Yeah. Obviously,
whoa,
a big change from the game of them finally agreeing to be together or like getting together.
They get together
much later. But I feel like, the build-up was worth it, The tension.
I thought that their chemistry is very good together. That whole 10 minutes scene was great, especially like that, just the pillow talk, if we want to call it that, in the morning.
Yeah.
The back and forth, the pregnancy test, I'm going to be a dad. There was a lot of
My favorite line, I really wanted to wear short sleeves again.
Yeah. So,
oh, no, what was the line? It's the little things that become big things. Which I think is like maybe a really good quote.
Moral of the story. Yeah, look, I really enjoy those two together, and it makes me more and more just like, and really looking forward to Ellie fucking it all up. Great. It's going to be so good to watch.
It's going to be so good to see Ellie just walk away from all this happiness.
Looking forward to that 5 minutes of her holding that kid walking around the farm until...
Yeah, that one episode, that half an episode we're going to get.
That's definitely... No, I reckon that'll be a full episode. I reckon they give us a full episode on the farm.
Of them just being farmers.
They have to give us a full episode of them being happy, and then towards the end of Ellie being like, no, fuck this, I'm leaving again.
Where do you think that farm's going to be? Is it going to be within Jackson, or...?
I can't remember the exact explanation of placement for how that works, to be honest, but...
Or whether they just end up with their house inside Jackson, maybe.
Yeah, maybe they just change it so easier.
Yeah.
Just use Joel's house since they've already built it. I don't know. I feel like the farm's important, though. Like,
it is, the big open wide spaces and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
All alone. Yeah. I mean, really good. Enjoyed it. I guess it just kind of raises the stakes a little bit. Now Ellie's got... Before it felt like Ellie had nothing to lose by going on this revenge mission. Now she does have a lot to lose.
Now she's got a baby to lose.
Yeah, potentially.
3 episodes left, by the way.
3 episodes left. I guess the question again, where do you think we're going to end?
I'm standing by what I said. We end it here. But with
the fight.
With her and Abby fighting, yeah.
Do you...
Because then they can.
Do you think season 3 is going to be very much the second half of the game, and which is going to be very Abby focused?
Yeah, I actually think at this stage, based on the way this episode played out, and again, like I really like this episode, but it didn't rush through a lot of events. I think given that we end at the fight, and then we do not see Caitlin Diva show up until the season finale with that fight, and then they can do the game sort of thing. Not to the same sort of extent, because obviously we already know more about her, but then they can start the next season with Abby. So
yeah, I'm just trying to think about the events. So like next week they go to the hospital, right?
Yeah, they sneak into where Nora is. Yeah,
Nora is.
Yeah.
We know there is going to be a flashback episode if you've watched any of the teaser trailers and stuff.
Well, we know what's his face was cast as that dude. So
yeah, there's going to Eugene, who didn't get a mission this week. First episode that Eugene was not mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
And then you would assume, well, I guess then the finale is the aquarium and then going to the theater. Potentially,
There's a lot of ground to cover. There is so much story actually that even when I'm like, they said they're doing this game in 2 seasons, I'm like, it still feels like it's rushing it.
I don't know. Like, you also got to think that a lot of the Ellie story is that open world section.
Yeah, but then
you don't need to cover all of that.
True. But then I'm like, okay, but then once you introduce Lev, I'm like, you want to spend time building that relationship properly with Abby.
But that's going to be season 3.
Yeah, but it's just so much ground to cover still. Imagine the fucking like Abby going to the island. Like that. That's an entire episode. That's a movie. And at some stage, we're going to come back, and then by the time we get to them heading to... I can't remember where that... But by the time we get to the last chapter of the game, where Abby's captured...
I know, Newport or something.
Newport, yeah. Like, that seems like 2 seasons from now. You know what I mean? Like, it's just...
Maybe they will turn out to be
crazy
4 seasons, They want to stretch this out as much as possible.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to discuss from this episode?
No, I think we covered it all.
Yeah, cool. Let us know what you thought of the latest episode of The Last of Us by finding us on Blue Sky at explosionnetwork.com or find us on other social media at ExplosionPod. If you want to help us out here at What Do You Want to Watch, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and Podchaser, leave us 5 stars and you can leave 5 stars, or just tell people about the show. And if you've enjoyed this episode, thought it was worth $1, head on over to our Ko-fi page at explosionnetwork.com/support. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, keep watching stuff, I guess.